This man actually calls an elementary school student his wife. The most absurd part is that she really is his wife. Moreover, she makes lunch for him every day. It all started over 20 years ago when Keisuke was a newcomer in the sales department. While presenting his report, his seniors doubted him, but his colleague Takai saw the potential in his plan and supported him. This sparked their connection. After a busy day, Takai gave Keisuke a lunchbox she had made, as she had a dinner party that day. Seeing Keisuke enjoy the meal made her happy. In return, Keisuke invited her out to reciprocate for the lunch. Later, they dated, got married, and had a daughter, living happily until Takai died in a car accident 10 years ago. Keisuke's life seemed to pause, living each day like a zombie until he passed by an elementary school girl. At that moment, the girl's mind flashed with numerous memories. Back home, Keisuke greeted his daughter, and they ate convenience store bento without any conversation, as if their emotions were drained since Takai's accident. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Keisuke opened the door to find the same little girl, who claimed to be his wife and Mai's mother. Although puzzled, Keisuke let her in. The girl shared many details only their family would know, like their anniversary, the place of his proposal, Mai's first crush, and their last family trip. These were details a stranger couldn't know, leading to the only possible conclusion. The girl was indeed Takai. Now called Marika, she had just remembered her past life. She guessed it was some kind of reincarnation, given her age and the accident's timing. Coincidentally passing by and brushing past Keisuke had triggered her memories. Despite the absurdity, Keisuke and Mai accepted her immediately, as her manner and demeanor were just like Takai's. As they talked, Keisuke began to cry, but Takai was furious about their dismal dinner, questioning if they had been eating convenience store bento since her death. She also inquired about Mai's current situation, and learning she was working from home, urged her to go out and meet men, given her youth and beauty. After scolding them, Takai, the elementary student, had to return home, but promised to make them lunch on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. After she left, Keisuke couldn't hold back and ran after her, sobbing about missing her. Living with Takai was his life's purpose, and he'd been lost without her. However, Takai urged them to move forward, questioning what would become of Mai if Keisuke gave up. Commanding him to live well, Takai reminded him she was now someone else's child, leaving Keisuke conflicted. Yet, he promised to live well, as she advised. The next day, Keisuke seemed like a different person. His colleagues quickly noticed the change. One female colleague even went to have lunch with him. Keisuke had a lunchbox made by his wife that day. Thinking about his elementary school-aged wife struggling with her small limbs to make his lunch filled him with happiness. The lunch was as delicious as ever. Just then, the female colleague approached him, asking if something good had happened. Keisuke couldn't help but share, although he couldn't reveal that his wife had reincarnated and retained her memories from her previous life. He simply said he had rediscovered something irreplaceable and was now looking forward to the future. The colleague didn't ask further, subtly expressing her fondness for Keisuke, which he seemed not to notice. When she invited him to share lunches more often, Keisuke agreed without much hesitation. Takai, now visiting daily, got a new phone from Keisuke to stay in touch, though her small hands struggled with it. Keisuke found her struggles adorable, and even planned to make a photo of her his phone wallpaper. If colleagues asked, he decided he would say it was his wife. Takai was speechless, joking that it was lucky Keisuke wasn't arrested. She rushed to delete the photo, but Mai walked in on this scene. Since her mother's return, Mai also felt hopeful about life, and was preparing to change jobs, even wearing a professional suit. The atmosphere at home felt as happy and peaceful as before. Keisuke was also happy, and decided to make a pork cutlet rice bowl for dinner, with Mai helping out. The next day, Keisuke stepped out to find Takai waiting, even though it wasn't a scheduled lunch-making day. She explained she had spare time and didn't want to waste leftovers from dinner. Keisuke smiled foolishly, feeling his wife must have really wanted to see him. At lunchtime, just as Keisuke was about to take out his lunchbox, the female colleague caught up with him. Knowing he wouldn't have his usual lunch, she had brought an extra one for him. Keisuke then closed his cabinet and ate the lunch his colleague brought. After work, Takai waited at home but grew concerned when Keisuke didn't return. She found him in the park, eating the lunch alone. Confronting him, she put him in a headlock, asking what was going on. Keisuke explained that a subordinate had made him a lunchbox, and he ate it to maintain good workplace relations. Realizing the subordinate was a single woman, Takai understood her intentions. However, she felt moved when Keisuke said he didn't want to waste the effort put into the lunchbox. Hence, he finished it in the park. Having once experienced loss, Keisuke didn't want their precious time together as a couple to be marred by neglect and lies. Takai felt both helpless and touched, once again deeply aware of how much Keisuke truly loved her. Takai's family went to the aquarium. Keisuke cried with joy, surprised to find such happiness after 10 years. He wished this happiness could last forever. Takai elbowed him, teasing him for being so emotional at his age. During a break, they talked about their daughter Mai, who was having trouble finding a job. She felt she wasn't good at socializing and had quit her last job after 3 months. Takai reassured her not to worry, suggesting that job might not have been the right fit and that she would find the right workplace eventually. Encouraged by her mother, Mai felt much relieved. Takai was truly the pillar of their family, yet she was not doing well in her current family situation. That day, Takai made lunch for Keisuke, who then realized he hadn't paid her for the groceries. He took out some money and gave it to Takai, who only took 1 bill. Keisuke's interruption made her forget what she wanted to say. Keisuke brought a souvenir for his colleague Moria, telling her about his weekend at the aquarium with his family. Although he had no romantic interest in her, he was immersed in the joy of having his wife back and wondered if she was eating well at school, considering her current elementary school identity and whether she was getting along with her childish peers. In fact, Takai acted like a little adult at school. When 2 girls argued, she stepped in to mediate. The dispute began because one girl commented on the other's messy twin ponytails. Takai first had the accuser apologize, but the girl with twin ponytails refused to forgive. Impatient, Takai lectured her in an adult tone about not sweating the small stuff, as it would lead to more troubles when she grows up. She even started to impart life philosophies, which were too complex for elementary students. The girl with twin ponytails mockingly called Takai an old lady and said that boys don't like meddlesome girls and predicted she would never get married, unaware that Takai already had a husband over 40. A boy from the class approached, saying he thought Takai was nice and chased after her to walk her home, reflecting their childhood friendship. He noticed Takai's recent cheerful change and was happy about it, knowing she had been down last year when her parents divorced. Takai vaguely responded, as she didn't remember much about this life since awakening her past life memories. Now, she and her mother depended on each other. However, when Takai returned home and saw her mother's shoes, she tensed up. Her mother came out with a stern face, questioning where Takai had been and why she was home so late. Takai admitted to going to the aquarium and lied that she was with friends, saying she saved the money from her daily dinner allowance. Upon hearing this, Mom immediately became furious. She was very controlling over Takai, not allowing her to do anything without her approval. She even demanded Takai hand over all her remaining money. Not trusting her and still suspecting she had more, she went to search Takai's room. Takai remembered the phone Keisuke bought her was still in the drawer. Trying to stop her, she was pushed away by her mom. Luckily, at that crucial moment, her mom's phone rang. After the call, her mood improved slightly, and she didn't continue searching Takai's room, only commanding her not to deceive her again. Lying in bed, Takai began to ponder whether she could continue this way. Keisuke and Mai, unaware of this, were planning where to go when Takai was on summer break. Due to Takai's unique situation, they couldn't go far, only a nearby day trip was feasible. So Keisuke texted to ask if Takai could spare a day. Takai was about to refuse when she heard her mom on the phone. It seemed her mom was planning to go out, which meant Takai would be free that day. She couldn't bear to refuse her family. Upon hearing Takai agreed, Keisuke eagerly began planning, unaware of the turmoil in Takai's heart. Having reincarnated and gained a new family, continuing like this would only hurt everyone. She decided to confess at their next meeting and not to meet again after that. Keisuke and his family went to see sunflowers and asked a passerby to take a photo. Despite the beauty and fun, Takai looked troubled. Keisuke tried hard to cheer her up, and eventually, Takai began to enjoy the trip. However, during a rest, she tensed up again. Keisuke then rested her on his shoulders, cherishing the rare opportunity to carry his wife. Exhausted, the 3 of them returned home. Takai placed the sunflowers from the spot into a vase. Keisuke and Mai were busy ordering takeout. There was no more time to delay. Takai sat at the table with a serious expression. The day had been too joyful and fulfilling, making it hard for her to say what she had planned. But she knew she must speak. Before she could start, the room went dark, and then Mai brought in a beautiful cake, wishing her a happy birthday. It was actually her previous life's birthday, which Takai herself had forgotten. Keisuke and Mai remembered, with Keisuke affirming, "How could we forget? After all, we are a family." With mixed feelings, she blew out the candles. Takai asked Mai not to turn on the lights yet and ran to the bathroom to calm herself. Keisuke and Mai could tell something was wrong today. Knowing Takai must be troubled, all they could do was try their best to live happily with her. These words reached Takai in the bathroom, where she cried silently, fixing her mood before returning with a smile. The words she wanted to say were buried deep in her heart, and instead, she just said thank you, which unexpectedly made her daughter cry. The three of them cried together. Takai realized she truly wanted to live with them, for they were her sunshine. After all, she was just a schoolgirl now, so a little selfishness might be okay, right? Mai finally found a new job. Keisuke and Takai picked out a gift for her new position together. Her job involves teaching clients how to use computers and occasionally requires her to travel for hands-on sessions. Because of this, they can't go as a family to see the fireworks show anymore. The last time they watched it together was 10 years ago. Keisuke's comment brought back memories for all three of them. Unfortunately, Takai couldn't make it that day, and the plan fell through. However, Keisuke's female colleague, Moria, planned to go with her friends. Meanwhile, Mai was on a business trip in another city, attending to a young male client. After her senior colleague explained the precautions, he left for another client, leaving Mai to manage on her own. The client seemed impatient, which made Mai nervous. He was also aloof during the training, and it was unclear if he understood anything. Feeling defeated, Mai called her mother to talk about the challenges at work. Takai comforted her, saying that it's normal not to succeed at first, and suggested she try communicating in her own way. Mai had a realization. Then Takai shared good news. They could go to the fireworks together because her mom would be home late. However, Keisuke might not be able to join since it was a workday. Surprisingly, Keisuke also left work early, feeling it was better to go and see the fireworks. Moria went with her best friend, both dressed in beautiful yukata. On the way, they ran into Keisuke. Moria's friend, having heard about him, decided to help by inviting Keisuke to join them. Keisuke agreed, seeing no issue in watching the fireworks with colleagues, and helped secure a good spot. Her friend quickly made an excuse to leave, giving Moria and her boss some alone time. Moria then chased after her friend, explaining that she and Keisuke were just lunch partners and friends. She returned after clearing things up, but before that, Keisuke had already met Takai, and Mai was about to arrive too. Upon hearing this, Keisuke blushed. The family's fate seemed intertwined. However, Takai felt embarrassed by him. Just as she mentioned it, the fireworks started. Despite the beautiful fireworks, Takai reminisced about the last time they watched together when Mai didn't want to go home. Takai comforted her, promising there would be another chance next year, not realizing it would take 10 years. Noticing Keisuke watching intently, Takai suddenly held his hand. In that moment, Keisuke felt as if he saw his wife's previous life. Moria returned then. Keisuke was about to introduce Takai as his wife when Takai stepped on his foot hard. Using a childlike tone, she introduced herself as a relative's child. Learning that the young and pretty colleague had made lunch for Keisuke, Takai felt she might be interested in him and watched Moria closely. Finding her agreeable, she excused herself to pick up Mai, leaving some space for the two. Moria thought she should save a spot for her boss's daughter while Mai was almost there. Unexpectedly, she stepped on a drink can. In a panic, Keisuke caught her. Both fell to the ground. Mai witnessed this scene. She vividly remembered a similar scene from a fireworks festival 10 years ago. She turned to see her father seemingly cheating. Tears streamed down Mai's face. Takai also hurried back, quickly explaining that the woman was just a colleague Keisuke met on the street. It wasn't a planned meeting. But Mai wouldn't listen. Moria immediately apologized. Knowing she shouldn't lose her temper there, Mai made an excuse and left. Worried about her daughter, Takai followed. Moria felt increasingly embarrassed, asking Keisuke to apologize to Mai on her behalf. Back home, Keisuke spoke up, but Mai only questioned his relationship with that woman. Keisuke, unaware of the seriousness, cheerfully said they sometimes had lunch together. Maria was concerned about his well-being, despite their age difference. They were good friends. Hearing this, Mai cursed in disgust and stormed off to her room. Keisuke was clueless about why Mai was so upset. Takai understood, though. Their family had been divided for 10 years and had only just reunited. Mai surely didn't want anyone else involved. It was then that Keisuke realized the misunderstanding. Takai felt worse, knowing her own death had paused her husband and daughter's lives. But precisely because of this, she hoped Keisuke would spend more time with Mai. If Mai could grow up healthy, she might accept new family relationships instead of resisting them like now. Afterwards, Takai went to talk to her daughter. Even before fully regaining her memories and seeing Keisuke, she was prepared for him to remarry, as she was just a child now and cared for her family. She didn't want them to feel lonely because of her. Takai countered, but the mother was right here, so she still wanted to live together as three, just like before. Keisuke, who had been listening at the door, finally asked them to come to the living room. He then wrote a marriage application as proof to solidify their family. This application was not for others to see, but to reassure themselves that they were a family, unshakably so. Afterwards, Keisuke earnestly apologized to his daughter, not just for this incident, but for not facing her properly after his wife's death, and for not helping her move past the grief, which turned his lively and outgoing daughter introverted. After clearing the air, Mai regretted her harsh words to her father, knowing he was the one most affected by her mother's death. Keisuke then confessed his deep love to Takai again. Over these 10 years, people had advised him to remarry, but he couldn't be with anyone other than Takai. His feelings for Takai had not changed and would not change. Finally, Takai and Mai also signed their names on the application. Even if only the three of them knew, they were the happiest family. Mai has to go on a business trip again today to the same client as last time. Before leaving, she consults her father, who is a leader, about how to handle difficult clients. He tells her to listen attentively and communicate in her own words, similar to what Takai had said. Mai reflects on how much her parents resemble each other as a married couple. When Mai arrives, she finds Mr. Aikawa fishing. She directly asks him if there was anything she didn't explain well last time. Aikawa quickly denies this, explaining that he was just not good with computers, so he listened carefully to Mai, whose explanations were clear and easy to understand. Just then, a fish bites, and Mai gets excited, commenting on how great it is to live by the sea. However, Aikawa mentions that the sea can be dangerous, as his good friend was lost to it 8 years ago and has never been found. Despite this, he never thought about leaving and hopes he can save others. Mai is moved by his story, and their relationship progresses. Meanwhile, Takai goes to the supermarket alone and decides to have a boxed dinner when she unexpectedly runs into Sister Moria. Hearing that Takai is home alone tonight, Moria invites her to dinner at her place. The meal, a seafood rice dish made by Moria, impresses Takai, who finds Moria attractive, intelligent, and a good cook. So she directly asks if Moria likes Uncle Keisuke. Moria denies this, saying they are just friends and she has only respect for Mr. Keisuke, as she has always been awkward with the opposite sex and had a bad romantic experience in the past. After a work mistake, Keisuke not only helped her solve the issue, but also took full responsibility, which made Moria respect him deeply. However, she didn't dare to talk to him initially, as Keisuke seemed uninterested in relationships, and it was only recently that they started talking more. Takai understands why Keisuke changed and knows Moria has no romantic feelings for him, but she also knows that respect can easily turn into fondness. At that moment, Takai receives a message from her daughter asking about famous historical sites in Tokyo, and Mai excitedly shares her experiences with Mr. Aikawa. Takai feels uneasy, sensing that her daughter might be developing a romantic interest. Indeed, Mai and Aikawa's relationship is progressing quickly. Aikawa, who had come to Tokyo for a wedding, decides to tour the city with Mai. They visit a famous dessert shop crowded with female customers. Mai worries that Aikawa might feel uncomfortable, but he is relaxed and enjoys the desserts without caring about the surrounding people. Aikawa is in Tokyo for a wedding but feels that marriage is just a hassle. Mai is unsure about marriage, but seeing her parents face challenges together, she feels that such a relationship might be quite nice. This conversation inspired Aikawa, leading him to consider the benefits of marriage. Soon, It was time for the post-wedding party, but there were still many sites Mai had planned that they hadn't visited. Aikawa suggested they could meet again next time. Mai, startled by this, quickly messaged her mother to ask if this was a proposal. Her mother advised her to think it over and cherish the relationship if she felt good about it, but to keep it a secret from her father. After their chat, Takai suddenly remembered her own mother's frequent dates, hinting that good news might be near. Chika, Takai's mother, went straight to an izakaya with the man she had been dating after work. The man mentioned his job was moving to the neighboring county, and without hesitation, Chika said she would quit her job to go with him. The man did not object. Chika then complained about her first marriage, where she just wanted a simple life, but her husband cheated, deeply hurting her. However, after the man comforted her, Chika felt courageous again. A young boy then entered their private room, and seeing the man's fondness for children, Chika decided to introduce Takai to him a few days later. Previously, she had never mentioned having another child, but the man did not mind. Takai was happy for her mother embracing a new life, but then heard her mother say they were moving to where the man worked. After speaking, her mother went to the restroom, leaving Takai alone with the man who shared stories of her mother's difficult past, which made her paranoid. Though Takai recalled the tough times and lack of care from her mother, she admired her mother's hard work in supporting them alone, and naturally, she was ready to leave with her. Unaware her mother overheard everything, Takai then considered how to tell Keisuke and Mai. She confessed her family was actually a single-parent household because her mother was remarrying, and they would soon move to live with the man in the neighboring county. Keisuke was relieved after hearing this. It was just a move, nothing as severe as death. Mai also felt it was a minor issue since the neighboring county wasn't far, and they could still meet occasionally. Hearing her husband and daughter speak this way brought tears to Takai's eyes. Therefore, to cherish the current moments, Keisuke thought it necessary to have a family party on Christmas Day. Unfortunately, Takai had plans to go to an amusement park with her mother and the man, and Mai might not be available. Mai quickly denied this, revealing she had already invited Aikawa, but he had long ago planned a trip with friends for the same day. Watching Keisuke and Mai discuss Christmas plans, Takai couldn't help but feel excited about her new family. Meanwhile, after work, Chika went on another date with the man. He told her they didn't need to rent another apartment. She could just move in with him. He was quite busy lately, though, and might not have time to respond to messages. However, he assured her he would make time for Christmas. Takai was already thinking about buying a cake for Christmas, feeling like they were truly becoming a family. When the time came to leave, her mother gave Takai a new scarf. Love had clearly made her mother much more emotionally stable. At the amusement park entrance, her mother reminisced about past visits there with Takai, who couldn't remember any of them. Her mother apologized, but the man they were waiting for never showed up. On the other hand, Mai, celebrating Christmas with her father, was restless until Aikawa called. He apologized for declining her invitation and said he might be able to return early the next day, hoping to meet her in the evening. Mai blushed and agreed, unbeknownst to Keisuke. Things weren't going smoothly for Takai. The man stood them up and wasn't returning messages. Her mother was on the edge of losing it, but they decided to buy some fancy food and head home. Unexpectedly, they ran into the man at the mall, and he was clearly with his wife and child. When her mother saw the man walk away alone, she followed him. Seeing Chika, the man was terrified and immediately knelt to apologize. Chika had a breakdown after returning home, and Takai didn't know how to comfort her. The only silver lining was that they no longer had to move. Takai decided to do what she could for her mother, starting with cooking. Knowing her mother wanted a fresh start, she apologized. After another betrayal, Chika was not ready to forgive easily. She discovered the omelet rice Takai had made, but scolded her daughter and sent her out without touching the food. Alone, she sat on a messy sofa, but by the next morning, Takai found the dish eaten and the plate cleaned. Her mother had eaten it, cried, and realized that even if she had nothing else, she still had a daughter who loved her. Takai then told Keisuke and Mai that the move was canceled. Keisuke was neither happy nor sad, but Takai felt it wasn't so bad. After all, the man was worthless. Life just went on day by day. That day, Chika's colleague gave her some haw flakes from her hometown to share with her daughter. However, Chika had never mentioned having a daughter. The colleague said she had heard it from the manager at the beginning and mentioned that her own family was also a single-parent family. understanding the hardships of raising a child alone. Chika didn't understand why her colleague was sharing this with her. She then learned that her colleague's mother had passed away the previous week. It was during the funeral that she had reminisced about old times, feeling gratitude and regret towards her mother. This prompted her to reach out to Chika, who was also a single mother. When Chika returned home, she played a voicemail that was from her own mother, asking for money. She had resolved not to be like her mother, but ended up hurting her daughter, Takai. With the haw flakes in hand, she knocked on Takai's door. Unbeknownst to her, Takai had not expected her mother to come home early and was still with Keisuke and Mai. Chika braved the snow to look for her and saw her daughter happily walking with two strangers, looking like a real family. Chika quietly followed and waited outside until Takai left. When Keisuke returned Takai's forgotten phone, Chika confronted her, grabbing her shoulders fiercely, feeling betrayed even by her daughter. Keisuke intervened, recognizing that this woman was Takai's mother, and told her that her scolding was wrong. As a father himself, he explained that one should not berate a child without understanding the situation, as it wasn't discipline but rather using the child as a scapegoat. However, his words only enraged Chika more. "Who are you to lecture me?" Realizing Keisuke might say something serious, Takai was shocked. Keisuke accidentally witnessed Chika scolding Takai. He realized that this woman was now Takai's mother and was very displeased with her. He accused her of using her daughter as a scapegoat, not educating her. Chika was reminded of her own mother by this. But what right did Keisuke have to teach her how to be a mother? Just as Keisuke was about to reveal the truth, Mai intervened in time to stop her father. Keisuke then noticed that other residents were already watching the scene. As it involved a child, he hesitated whether to call the police, and could only watch as Chika took Takai away, given that he and Mai had no relationship with Takai. After returning home, they realized they had not returned Takai's phone. No wonder Takai never spoke about her home life. While worried about her mother, Mai was more concerned about her father possibly getting arrested, which would mean she could never see her mother again. Keisuke had to force himself to calm down and consider how to explain these bizarre realities to Takai's current mother. But who would believe such a story? It might only make Takai's situation worse. Meanwhile, Chika was furious with Takai for seemingly being close with others, as if they were her real family. She even raised her hand to slap her but stopped, her expression sadder than ever, wondering why her daughter wouldn't speak to her. Ultimately, she silently left Takai's room. Takai began to tidy up, understanding her mother's unease, especially after being deceived by a man and then seeing her daughter with others. However, she couldn't reveal the truth to her mother. That's when she found a box under the bed labeled treasures. In the living room, Chika was drowning her sorrows in alcohol, haunted by Keisuke's words. Despite experiencing similar situations in her own childhood, she made the same mistakes. As a child, Chika was very responsible and handled all the household chores, hoping for a word of praise. But her mother would return and, without a glance, scold her for messing with things. During her rebellious years, her mother still treated her as an enemy. She even took the money Chika earned from hard work. Chika never felt loved by her family and swore never to become such a despicable mother. Yet she still ended up treating Takai the way she did. That evening, Takai opened the box to find only a photograph of her and her mother smiling happily together, which brought her to tears. Everyone was destined for a sleepless night. The next morning, Keisuke quickly finished his work and took the afternoon off. Moria, concerned, asked if something had happened to Marika since she hadn't responded to a message from the day before. Keisuke explained she had left her phone at his house, and then hurriedly left the office. On the other side, Chika was busy at the store. A colleague asked if her daughter liked the local specialty products. Chika admitted she hadn't given them to her yet, and shared that they were not getting along well. Her colleague then asked, "Have you resolved to be a good parent?" They added, "If you face it bravely, your relationship will gradually improve. So, before talking to your child, ask yourself what you really think." Meanwhile, Takai's cold was getting worse. Fortunately, she ran into Keisuke, who was waiting for her. He returned her phone and expressed his intention to convince her current mother to let Takai move into his house. He knew he had to be honest about everything. Keisuke was aware that Takai was a good kid, and a mother who did not cherish her child was not worthy of obedience. From yesterday's events, it was clear that this mother had no love for Takai and was selfish, not fit to be a parent. Keisuke's remarks became too harsh, and Takai couldn't bear it anymore. They had only met once. How could he think he understood someone's parent completely? In fact, Keisuke just wanted Takai to move in so their family could be together again. But he forgot that Takai had died, and the person in front of him was actually Marika, Chika's daughter. As they talked, Takai fainted. Keisuke then realized that Takai's temperature was abnormal and it was raining heavily. He quickly carried her home. On the way, they encountered Chika, who rushed over, dropping her umbrella. Her worried and anxious expression was not that of a selfish mother. She had Keisuke bring Takai to her house, changed her clothes, and settled her into bed. She noticed the photograph of them at the amusement park, where they had fun together despite her husband's absence. They were happy then. When Takai awoke from her dream and saw her mother by her bed, she decided she could not keep hiding the truth any longer. She texted Keisuke to hint at her upcoming confession, hoping he and Mai would also be present. Keisuke and Mai would not miss it. Keisuke's opinion of Chika had changed since that day, and he had already apologized to her. She was indeed a real mother. Now, with all parties present, Keisuke assured that what he was about to say was the absolute truth. He started by revealing that Marika was actually his wife, or rather, her reincarnation. He then explained the full story of Takai's awakening and the events before and after. Initially, Chika did not believe it, but with all three asserting it, and Keisuke telling her that Takai regained her memories last April, he asked if she had not felt any difference. Chika was about to deny it, but then the recent events flashed in her mind. Looking back at Marika, she seemed to see a stranger. During this period, the maturity that her daughter exhibited didn't seem fitting for an elementary school student. Ultimately, Chika chose to accept this far-fetched explanation. She then asked Keisuke what they planned to do. Were they going to take her away? Keisuke candidly admitted that initially he did indeed intend to do so because he felt that Chika was unfit as a mother. However, after seeing how she cared for Takai, he realized that he had not truly understood her character. So he wanted to openly ask what Chika herself really thought. Before Chika could express her thoughts, Takai took out the photo of them together. Even though she had Takai's memories, she was still Marika. She knew that it was her mother who had given birth to her and raised her. Keisuke encouraged Chika to express her true feelings. Ultimately, Chika spoke her mind. She wanted to live with Marika and start anew with her daughter. This answer was expected by Keisuke. However, he cautioned Chika that if she ever acted without love towards the child again, he would definitely take Takai away. Still, he acknowledged that this home was the place for the child for now. After saying this, Keisuke and Mai prepared to leave. Takai was grateful for her husband and daughter, and then returned to her mother's side. Hearing her daughter say, "Mom is still mom," Chika could no longer hold back her guilt and self-reproach and burst into tears, covering her face. After opening up about her concerns, Chika decided to actively face life. Today, she even swapped shifts with a colleague because she wanted to look for a full-time job to better support her daughter. Her colleague supported her greatly. Just then, she noticed a little girl waving outside. It was Takai coming to pick her mom up from work. Previously, Chika would have ignored her, but now, she waved back. Takai, thrilled, immediately called Keisuke to thank him. When Keisuke arrived home, he saw a strange man at his doorstep. Before he could ask what was happening, Mai rushed out to explain, but Aikawa quickly stated, "I am courting Miss Mai." Keisuke was taken aback. Aikawa had come to deliver fish he caught. Keisuke, forcing a smile, invited him in, but was unexpectedly declined. After the visitor left, Keisuke tearfully called his wife for comfort. Takai shouted that she wanted to see what Mai's boyfriend looked like. The next day, Keisuke went to work looking dejected. Moria, concerned, asked him a few questions and learned that his daughter had a boyfriend. The thought of Mai moving out after marriage made him realize he'd be alone. Moria wanted to cheer him up, especially as there was a New Year's party at the office today. Another colleague, who secretly admired Moria, felt bitter seeing this and asked Keisuke at the party if his cheerfulness since last year was due to a new romantic interest. Keisuke didn't deny it. As they discussed Keisuke, Moria joined in. A heavier colleague teased that Moria had someone special, but lacked the courage to make a move. A thinner colleague explained it was because Moria hadn't sorted out his feelings yet, unsure if it was love, especially as he was of marrying age, but not yet prepared to be a man. Keisuke, speaking from experience, suggested that if one feels the desire to be with someone, it might be love. And if one wishes to support them through tough times, That too is love. With love established, considering marriage isn't out of the question. The male colleague across understood, and Moria seemed to realize something too, recalling all the times spent with Keisuke. Meanwhile, Mai called her mother to say that Aikawa had invited their family to go sea fishing, and they were meeting the parents so soon. Takai naturally wanted to join as the neighbor's kid, mainly because Mai worried about leaving their dad alone. During dinner, Takai discussed this with her mom, who agreed without much hesitation, and found her daughter rather cute, reminding her to have the man walk her to the door. Over the weekend, the family went to the seaside. Aikawa had borrowed a friend's boat to take them out to sea. This was Takai's first time meeting her daughter's boyfriend. Surprisingly, he was quite handsome. Mai, blushing, said she didn't care about his looks but liked his gentleness and sincerity. She praised Aikawa from head to toe without realizing her boyfriend had returned. Keisuke, listening nearby, grew increasingly sad. Takai nudged him, signaling not to dampen the mood. Today's captain was Aikawa's friend, who quietly asked how Aikawa managed to find such a beautiful girlfriend, and even planned to share embarrassing stories from Aikawa's childhood with Mai. Seeing the young people so happy made Takai relieved. She urged Keisuke to cheer up since their daughter was cherished as a partner. This helped Keisuke perk up, determined to show his reliable side as a father. However, once the boat started, he began to feel seasick. Aikawa quickly offered him seasickness medicine. Thankfully, the boat stabilized at the fishing spot. Aikawa began teaching Keisuke how to fish. Watching this, Takai and Mai felt happy, even though they were left out. Takai even considered the marriage issue, thinking if it were Aikawa, there wouldn't be any problems, because she felt her daughter wasn't the type to frequently change boyfriends. So, if it felt right, they should hurry and get married. Meanwhile, under Aikawa's guidance, Keisuke successfully caught his first fish. Takai playfully asked brother Aikawa to teach her too. Everyone had a delightful day until they ran out of bait. Takai asked Mai to check with Aikawa for more bait, then flirted with Keisuke. Now, Keisuke wasn't worried about his daughter moving out after marriage because he still had his wife. In fact, Takai felt very fortunate. With so many people dying daily, she was the only one who retained memories from her past life and even found her family from that life. Keisuke told her not to overthink it and to consider it as fate's guidance. Just then, Takai rubbed her eyes, complaining about feeling unusually sleepy lately. Meanwhile, Mai happened to overhear a conversation between Aikawa and that friend, revealing that Aikawa had an old flame known as White Moonlight, who was the same girlfriend swept away by the waves 8 years ago. Mai felt her heart sink instantly. Without confronting them, she left and went to dine at a friend's restaurant, evidently preoccupied. She continuously declined Aikawa's invitations. Takai, noticing something was amiss with her daughter, let her go to the beach alone to clear her mind. Sensing something, Aikawa guessed what might be troubling Mai. After she left, he knelt before Keisuke, confessing that he had something important to disclose. Meanwhile, Mai was wandering alone on the beach, wondering if she was just a replacement. After Aikawa finished speaking about something important, he followed her out and directly asked if she had overheard his conversation with his friend. Mai responded with a question, asking if he was still waiting for that person to return and if she was merely a substitute. Aikawa hesitated on the first question, but immediately denied the second, explaining that he had been unable to express himself because Mai seemed to admire her father a lot, and Keisuke was still mourning his late wife. Aikawa feared Mai would be disappointed with his past self. He had invited them fishing today to tell that person he had also found someone he wanted to spend his life with, and that person was Mai. He then loudly called out his ex-girlfriend's name towards the sea, thanking her for her past company, but stating he was now moving forward with Mai. Keisuke, who had been listening behind a rock, was tearful. He had always thought that continuing to remember a deceased loved one was not necessarily a good thing, yet he didn't realize his own obsession with Takai had troubled Mai. He admired Aikawa for moving on and finding someone new. Takai felt relieved too. She looked up to see a shooting star crossing the sky, but soon felt sleepy again. After they returned, Keisuke carried her home on his back. When Takai woke up and saw Keisuke and Mai, she looked terrified, quickly got off Keisuke's back, and asked them warily who they were. At that moment, Takai acted like a real elementary school student with no memories of a past life. The man was arrested by the police for calling a 10-year-old girl his wife. Fortunately, Chika quickly arrived and explained the situation to the police. Keisuke and Mai were then released. However, Takai was still crying there. When they got home, Chika carefully inquired and discovered that Takai not only couldn't remember what she did today, but also didn't remember who Keisuke and Mai were. She had completely lost her memory of the past year. The news struck Keisuke and Mai like a thunderbolt. Yet Keisuke held a glimmer of hope, thinking if Takai could recall once, she could again. However, when Takai woke up, she still had no memory, remaining in the state of a year ago when Chika had just divorced and was not kind to her daughter. Chika then comforted her softly, saying it was okay not to eat if she didn't feel like it, and took Takai to school to explain the situation to the principal and teachers. They only mentioned that Marika had suddenly lost a year's memory and requested some time off to rest. When the teachers asked about the cause, Chika admitted her faults, blaming her inability to properly face Marika after the divorce. However, the teachers comforted her, mentioning how Marika often spoke highly of her, noting that despite being busy with a new job, Chika still prepared delicious meals. The principal also expressed that with sincere effort, mutual understanding could be achieved and offered the school's help if needed. This made Chika realize that stepping out of her closed-off inner world revealed a brighter outside. She went home holding Marika's tiny hand and personally cooked a lavish meal. Marika regained her appetite and ate well. After dinner, Chika taught Marika her studies personally. On a rest day, Chika invited Keisuke and Mai to her home to reintroduce them to Marika, saying they were her friends. Marika politely apologized for the previous incident. The days spent with her daughter convinced Chika that this was the Marika before Takai regained her memory, and that the Takai of the past year was not the real Marika. Mai was deeply affected, believing Marika was still her mother despite the lost memory. Chika understood, having treated the previous Takai as her daughter too. However, she had more pressing matters and made 3 requests to Keisuke and Mai. The first was to help look after Marika, as she was just an ordinary elementary school student now, and Chika, busy with a new job, was worried about leaving her alone at home. Keisuke readily agreed, as they both wanted to spend more time with Marika. The second request was to call her daughter Marika, not Takai. The third and most important was that if Takai's memory did not return after some time, they should give up. In the end, Keisuke and Mai agreed, having no choice. If Marika permanently lost her memory as Takai, they would have no relation to this little girl. Thus, their hope now rested on Marika regaining her memory. On the first day, Mai tutored Marika at home. Meanwhile, Keisuke visited Takai's grave. Although Marika had lost a year's worth of memories, she learned quickly and was expected to catch up with her schoolwork soon. She was eager to return to school, but more surprising to her was how gentle her mother had become, reminiscent of the mother she knew before the recent harshness following Chika's divorce. While tutoring, Mai noticed a painting and was impressed by Marika's skill at just 10 years old. However, Mai felt something was off. Could a mere loss of memory change someone's personality so drastically? This Marika seemed entirely different from her mother, Takai. Keisuke remained at Takai's grave, pondering over Chika's words, wondering if he was about to lose his wife again. Suddenly, a monk approached and invited Keisuke to sit at the temple. The monk remembered how Keisuke had mourned years ago when Takai first passed away. It seemed like a wound in his heart had reopened, which he thought had healed. Touched by the monk's kindness, Keisuke opened up about his thoughts on reincarnation. A few days later, Marika had caught up with her schoolwork and was eager to go back to school. Chika was worried and repeatedly reminded her daughter that she could talk to her teachers about any unease and that she would come to pick her up immediately. After a week at school without major issues and receiving kindness from classmates, Mai shared these updates with her father during dinner, mentioning Marika's talent for drawing and questioning if her mother was also artistic. But Takai had never been good at drawing, which made Keisuke thoughtful. One day, Mai had to host an online meeting and asked Marika to come over for tutoring. When Keisuke returned from work, he was flustered on how to interact with Marika, who had lost her memories, and busied himself making tea. Marika noticed a family portrait and their marriage certificate on the table. When Keisuke returned with snacks, a single glance confirmed it. Takai had regained her memory. Mai rushed to embrace her mother, and Keisuke joined in, holding both his wife and daughter as they cried together. After calming down, they discussed the events of the past month. Surprisingly, Takai had no memory of it and only remembered falling asleep. When she woke up, she was standing, staring blankly at the table. Regardless, Mai was overjoyed that her mother's memory was restored, remarking how different she seemed without it. Takai returned home in the evening before she could tell Chika about regaining her memory. Chika had already bought her a gift, a new cell phone with a new number arranged. She explained that she might often come home late due to work and wanted Marika to be able to call her anytime. Chika expressed her desire to try harder to be a good mother. Hearing this, tears streamed down Takai's face, and she apologized to Chika, telling her she had returned to her old self. Both Keisuke and Takai had begun to suspect the truth. A monk had told Keisuke that although Buddhism believes in reincarnation, memories do not carry over after rebirth. Instead, a new life begins with learning anew. Therefore, retaining past life memories suggested it was not reincarnation. Marika had lost all memories of Takai and did not resemble Takai in appearance or demeanor, indicating they might not be the same person. The so-called reincarnation was actually possession. After Takai's accidental death 10 years ago, her lingering attachment to her family kept her spirit in this world. By chance, her spirit possessed Marika, using Marika's body to save her husband and daughter. Once she felt no regrets, she unconsciously released her possession, allowing Marika's spirit to regain control of her body. Now, Marika's body had two souls. The choice of what happens next was not for Keisuke or anyone else to decide, but up to Takai herself. Clearly, she also realized what had happened as she wept profusely. Takai, due to her obsession, had not been reincarnated. After dying in a car accident, she watched helplessly as her body was carried away. Worried that Keisuke and Mai would be devastated, she lingered around the house until one day, Marika, muttering about not wanting to go home, didn't see the oncoming truck. In desperation, Takai rushed forward, saving Marika but possessing the young girl in the process. When she saw the marriage application, Takai remembered everything, but seeing her daughter in tears, she remained silent. She continued to interact with classmates the way Marika would, not wanting to steal Marika's life. To understand the girl better, Takai watched videos of Marika at a school sports day and asked Chika what kind of child Marika was. Despite everything, Chika still remembered how sensible her real daughter was, helping her massage her shoulders when tired, though she could be clumsy at times. After frequent arguments and a divorce from her ex-husband, Chika became annoyed by Marika's thoughtfulness and would snap over trivial matters. Now recognizing her mistakes, Chika wanted to reconcile with her daughter. Takai, feeling increasingly unsettled, told Chika to keep calling her Marika to avoid confusion when the real Marika returned. The next morning, she delivered lunch to Keisuke, nearly a year since Takai's return. Both struggled to forget that day. Angered by the poor dinners father and daughter had endured for 10 years, Takai felt better now that her return had given Keisuke and Mai the courage and motivation to keep living. Mai had a great boyfriend, and Keisuke was reflective. With no regrets left, Takai was pleased with Mai's boyfriend and believed Keisuke would also find someone. However, Keisuke could hardly bear such farewell-like remarks. Seeing his reaction, Takai felt even more anguish, both fully aware of what reincarnation entailed. It was time to make choices. At noon, Keisuke cried over the lunch Takai made, witnessed by Maria. After work, Keisuke didn't go straight home, but planned to visit Chika's house, unexpectedly meeting her on the way and learning Takai had returned to his home. Chika then suggested they have a talk. Takai looked at the messy kitchen, eager to teach her daughter how to cook. Mai blushed and told her mother that her boyfriend had proposed. Takai was overjoyed and genuinely happy for her daughter. Meanwhile, Chika took Keisuke to a baseball stadium. Not good at sports, Keisuke just sat quietly and watched. Chika got straight to the point and asked him what happened when Takai regained her memory. Indeed, Takai asking Chika to call her Marika had raised Chika's suspicions. At this point, Keisuke had no choice but to reveal the truth. Takai was not reincarnated and had realized this herself, deciding to return the body to Marika. Although they didn't know how to do it yet, it was not hard to imagine that Keisuke might lose his wife again. He didn't want this and shared his thoughts honestly with Chika. Chika did not blame Keisuke and understood why Takai had been so distraught that night, continuously apologizing. These apologies were meant not only for Marika, but also for Chika. Hearing this, Keisuke felt even more remorseful and guilty, knowing Takai, who deeply loved her family, would not want to take away someone else's happiness. Keisuke finally resolved to help Takai. Recently, Takai had been teaching Mai cooking skills and left her a notebook. Tonight, Mai wanted to try cooking fish and asked her mother to help. Keisuke had been coming home late these days, always the last to leave the office. Moriya thought he was overdoing it, but it was all Keisuke's initiative. A former colleague from the sales department said they were overwhelmed with other cases, and Keisuke had volunteered to help, grateful to still be at the company. This colleague had transferred him to a less demanding position after Takai's incident when Keisuke had lost all motivation to work. Keisuke wanted to repay him. The next morning, Moriya arrived at the office to find Keisuke already at his desk, almost thinking he had stayed overnight. Seeing Keisuke work so hard, she wanted to help and support Mr. Keisuke. Keisuke could not refuse her kind offer, and they started working overtime together. Under Takai's guidance, Mai learned another dish and left some for her father. When Takai was about to leave, Mai told her that she hoped her mother could join her at a tasting for an upcoming dinner party. Naturally, Takai agreed and asked when the wedding was planned. Mai told her it was set for next April. On the way back, Takai seemed preoccupied. After Keisuke got home, he found a note from Mai stating that there was simmered fish in the fridge that her mother taught her to make. Tasting it, Keisuke found it identical to Takai's cooking and was moved to tears. The next morning, he went to work early and left a note for Mai, praising the delicious simmered fish. Today was a holiday, and only Keisuke and Moriya were at the office. Keisuke felt guilty for taking up Moriya's time even on a holiday. Unexpectedly, Moriya confessed her feelings to him. She expressed her desire to be Keisuke's support, especially during tough times because she liked Mr. Keisuke. Moriya had thought she would never fall in love again, but changed her mind after learning how Keisuke still longed for his late wife. However, Keisuke responded that such deep affection wasn't always wonderful. He felt he had only been tormenting his wife. He then decided to share his experiences with Moriya. Keisuke revealed everything about Moriya. Although the notion of his deceased wife inhabiting the body of a 10-year-old girl sounded too fantastical. Yet, Moriya chose to believe him because she felt Keisuke wasn't the type to lie. To ease his wife's suffering and help her achieve peace, Keisuke decided to keep his distance from her and needed Moriya's help for this. Meanwhile, Mai, accompanied by Takai and her fiancé, discussed wedding plans. Neither had much experience with weddings, so as the day approached, they grew nervous. Takai advised that the most important thing about getting married was to do it in one go. It wasn't right to marry someone unsuitable just because of anxiety, but considering their work and life situations, it was best to seize the moment when possible. Aikawa was stunned, questioning if Takai was really just a primary school student. Takai quickly explained she learned this from TV, and then the three visited the wedding venue. Knowing she might not live to see her daughter's wedding day, Takai suggested Mai and Aikawa do a rehearsal. Embarrassed yet unable to refuse her mother, Mai stood on stage with Aikawa, with Takai acting as the officiant. After reciting their vows, Aikawa pretended to place a ring on Mai's finger. At that moment, Takai visualized their actual wedding day, shedding tears, but quickly regained her composure and asked the couple to kiss, which they declined since Takai was still a child. Takai resumed her mature tone, advising Aikawa based on her experiences from TV dramas, emphasizing that they might face challenges and disagreements, but should strive to overcome them together. Although Aikawa felt he briefly saw the grown-up Takai, he didn't ask further and simply responded, "Leave it to me." On the way back, Takai yawned, unable to hide her fatigue. Mai felt incredibly happy throughout the day, grateful for Takai's return, which led her to a new job and meeting Aikawa. Takai credited Mai for taking action, calling herself just an opportunity. However, she stressed that Mai herself possessed the power to change her fate. Even if Takai hadn't returned, someday Keisuke and Mai would find something to revive their spirits, as only the living can truly help each other heal. After saying this, Takai headed towards Marika's house. Keisuke's work finally came to an end, and he returned home early today. Takai was teaching Mai how to cook. Seeing Keisuke, she went to chat with him. Keisuke shared some work details, noting he now also handles duties in the sales department. Though tiring, it was fulfilling and somewhat restored his confidence. He then mentioned Takai need not make his lunches anymore since Mai had learned to cook. They shouldn't always rely on Chika's ingredients and kitchen. Takai didn't say much but noticed Keisuke hadn't looked at her once. Realizing Keisuke was ready for change, she had no regrets and urged Marika to return soon in the mirror. But nothing happened. The next day, Keisuke brought a thank you gift to Moriya. He felt mere distance from Takai wasn't enough, as she had said they were her most cherished people. He didn't want them to grieve because of her, and wished her to leave without burdens. Keisuke thought more drastic steps were necessary, even if it hurt Takai. Moriya strongly disagreed, urging Keisuke not to end their mutual longing in such a way. Mai planned her wedding for next spring and would move out then. She searched online for a commemorative gift for her parents. Takai contacted Moriya and met her at the school gate after classes. Moriya admitted knowing her secret and her plan to leave Marika's body. Takai didn't deny it. This was Marika's body and should be Marika's life. Though it meant parting from her husband and daughter again, she was already deceased. Besides, Keisuke and Mai had begun new lives. Maybe she shouldn't have returned. They would have recovered eventually. She was glad to see Keisuke willing to change for her. Now, she just needed to discuss it with Mai, ensuring she didn't harbor hopes of the dead returning. Moriya had another question for Takai, and after asking, she walked Takai back, encountering Chika on the way. Takai couldn't help yawning, and when she turned around, Moriya had disappeared. Today, Mai and Aikawa were on a date when they unexpectedly saw her father with another woman in a store. The once happy family was now falling apart. Everyone had their own decisions to make. Unable to sleep, Takai went for a walk and ended up near Keisuke's house. She ran into Keisuke returning from outside, leading to an awkward atmosphere. Both had much to say, but couldn't speak. After a moment of silence, Takai suggested they each say one thing to the other before heading home. Keisuke agreed. After some thought, they spoke simultaneously. "Take care of Mai. I'll take care of Mai." This marks the handover between the living and the departed, as well as between husband and wife. Keisuke knew that Takai's biggest concern was Mai, so he said this to reassure her. After speaking, they went their separate ways. However, Takai looked back, while Keisuke did not. When Keisuke got home, he suggested to Mai that they all go out to eat next week. Mai thought he meant their family. She had ordered a commemorative gift, a pair of beautiful cups to arrive before then, perfect for the gathering. Yet, when Mai arrived with the gift, she saw another woman sitting with Keisuke. Before she could react, Keisuke delivered another blow. He was going to marry this Ms. Moriya. In fact, Moriya's other question to Takai that day was whether she could marry Keisuke. Takai instinctively said no, but realized she had no right to do so. She then deeply bowed to Moriya, and Keisuke asked her to take good care of him. Mai happily went to her appointment, expecting a family dinner. However, as soon as she entered, her father harshly announced that Moriya would become her new mother. Mai couldn't accept this. What about her mom then? She couldn't help but question Moriya's intentions. Did she enjoy breaking up families? Moriya already knew about their family issues. Keisuke also revealed to Mai that Takai was not reincarnated, but was possessing a young girl's body. This meant Takai and Marika were not the same person. All this was due to Keisuke's irresponsibility. Mai instinctively rejected this truth. She heard her father say they would return the body to Marika's younger sister, meaning Takai would leave them again. Moriya quickly denied this, stating it was Takai's wish. Mai was unforgiving, questioning Moriya's right to speak about her mother. Keisuke defended his new wife, explaining Moriya was essential for his new start and to ease Takai's concerns. Mai couldn't accept any of it, finding their content faces ugly and hateful. Her mother had always thought of them, yet they betrayed her before she could leave. Mai ran out, while Keisuke and Moriya felt they were innocent and misunderstood by Mai. Mai could only text her mom. Takai, guessing what happened, asked Chika to let her talk to her daughter. When Takai found Mai, she was still sobbing uncontrollably. She wanted to hear that she was just reincarnated, not possessing someone. But Takai couldn't lie, even if it meant Mai losing her mother twice. However, she comforted Mai, saying it wasn't about facing two goodbyes, but about the chance to reunite again, a miracle that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Mai understood, but she still wanted to live with her mother. If her mother hadn't returned, she wouldn't have found a new job or a new life. She had so much more to tell Takai, and Takai felt the same. Being parents, we can only act as training wheels for our children, supporting them until they are ready to ride on their own. She believes that even without her, Mai will be able to live well in the future. However, losing her mother again after having her back is too painful. Mai doubts she can live happily without her mother in the future. Moreover, Keisuke's method of helping her mother pass on by marrying another woman is too cruel for Takai. Takai is not surprised by Keisuke's actions, but suspects they might be hiding something else from Mai. Today, Mai doesn't want to go home to see her father, so she decides to stay overnight at Aikawa's place. She also cannot accept her mother's disappearance again. Takai doesn't persuade her further, simply telling Mai that both her father and mother truly wish for her happiness. On her way to Aikawa's house, Mai keeps thinking about why people must die and why they must experience such separations. Despite the fear of loss, why do people choose to live with those they love, knowing they might regret it when they truly lose them? But then Mai remembers the happy times with her family after her mother returned. Would she regret those moments? These memories, the happiest in her memory, how could she ever wish to let them go? Without meeting and reuniting, she wouldn't have these memories, nor would she have met Aikawa and moved towards a new life. By the time she reached Aikawa's, she truly understood the last words Takai told her, realizing that another parting with her mother was inevitable. So as soon as she saw Aikawa, she ran into his arms and cried. The next morning, Mai felt a bit better. She didn't tell Aikawa about her mother, only saying she had argued with her father and didn't want to go home. Aikawa was surprised, as he had always thought Mai and Mr. Keisuke had a good relationship. He even mentioned that he liked Mr. Keisuke and admired their father-daughter relationship, aspiring to be a father like Keisuke. This made Mai think about the day she would eventually become a mother. While deep in thought, a wave suddenly crashed over them. Aikawa quickly grabbed Mai, remembering his ex-girlfriend was swallowed by the sea. Mentioning this, Mai felt Aikawa was impressive for overcoming the pain of losing someone important. Aikawa said it wasn't about being strong, but having to be strong, having friends to grieve with. He then held Mai's hand. Mai eventually went home. The cup she had left on the table was still intact. Keisuke had also seen the gift inside. Both father and daughter calmed down. Mai expressed her thoughts. Even if Keisuke and Moriya married, it might not help her mother ascend to enlightenment. Perhaps her mother had other attachments. She suggested that time might naturally resolve things without sacrificing Moriya, a stranger's happiness. She wanted her father to reconsider if this was truly a path to happiness. Keisuke stubbornly claimed that starting anew was the first step toward happiness. If marrying Moriya didn't resolve Takai's lingering attachments, he would find another way. Mai found Keisuke's insistence frightening, as if he was eager to send Takai away. Keisuke was just trying to set an example for Mai since his previous weakness had made it hard for Takai to rest easy. Now he wanted to prove his resolve. He reminded Mai again that death is final. They couldn't live with Takai again. Losing loved ones is inevitable, and while it can reduce one to a walking corpse, people also have the strength to recover and move on. Keisuke had learned this from Mai and Aikawa. In the future, happiness will come again, so we must not rely on the wrong miracles, especially not those built on the sacrifices of others. Marika is Chika's treasure, just as Mai is the treasure of Keisuke and Takai. Surely her time should not be wasted. Mai understands these words, but she just can't accept losing her mother again. Keisuke is aware of how happy their family was when Takai came back, but that immense happiness prevented him from seeing a fundamental error, letting the deceased Takai worry about him. Takai returned because of his cowardice and incompetence, which again robbed Mai of her precious time. Takai is their most important person, so they must consider what her truest wish was. On her first day back, Takai expressed her desire to see that they could move forward without her, showcasing the attitude and future she hoped for. This was probably her greatest wish over the last 10 years, for Keisuke and Mai to be happy and to start a new life after overcoming their pain. Therefore, Keisuke pleads with Mai to join him in sending Takai on her final journey. Finally, Mai opens the door, knowing that her father, who spent more time with her mother, must be in even greater pain making this decision. After a good talk with her father, Mai called her mother to tell her that she had decided to accept her father's marriage proposal. Takai was not surprised. Mai continued, saying her father wanted Takai to go somewhere with her over the weekend. Takai naturally agreed and had a guess that this might be their final goodbye. At school, she found Marika's close friends and told them that her amnesia was due to a fairy occupying her body. She had drawn in this notebook and prayed to it, and the fairy helped sort everything out. She hoped that if she lost her memory again, her friends would attribute it to the fairy's influence. Surprisingly, they all believed it and said that why Marika's memory disappeared was not important. Marika was still Marika. This reassured Takai. On the weekend, she went to the amusement park with Mai. They rode the Ferris wheel together, enjoying the view of the city from above. Takai knew why Keisuke had brought her here. It was where he first tasted the lunch Takai made, and where their relationship truly began. They later married, had children, and lived happily. Takai candidly told her daughter that she almost left her body last time because she saw Mai and Aikawa facing each other properly. As she spoke, Mai started crying. Just then, they saw Keisuke and Moriya passing below, walking side by side, looking very loving and harmonious. Takai asked Mai if she knew why their father brought them here. Mai didn't know, so Takai led her daughter to follow them. They came to a sunflower field where Keisuke and Moriya had already sat down. Then Keisuke took out a ring and proposed to Moriya, who happily accepted it as Keisuke placed the ring on her finger. Seeing this, Takai smiled. She initially thought Keisuke was just trying to reassure her by lying about getting married, but now it seemed he really meant it. This allowed her to truly let go. But Mai felt sad, and so did Takai. After all, she loved Keisuke deeply, but knew she was already gone, and that Keisuke marrying someone else was not because he stopped loving her. On the contrary, it was because he loved her that he made this choice. Thus, Takai felt genuinely happy. After saying this, her body began to turn transparent, and then returned to its original appearance. Mai could finally hug her mother. The next second, her mother in her arms turned into the unconscious Marika, and her mother transformed into a beam of golden light flying towards the sky, disappearing completely. Mai, carrying Marika, went to her father and told him that her mother had left. Hearing this, Keisuke immediately let go of Moriya's hand, knelt down in front of her, and apologized. It was all a play they had put on. Moriya was not crying out of sadness, but was moved by Keisuke's devotion to his wife. Mai then learned that their marriage was a pretense. After hearing Takai's story, Moriya suggested they pretend to date to alleviate Takai's concerns, and Keisuke agreed. Afterwards, Moriya intentionally asked Takai if she could marry Keisuke to see her reaction. Unexpectedly, when they were about to part, Takai suddenly said she was very tired. The last time she disappeared, it was the same. This was likely a sign that her soul was leaving her body, so Keisuke and Moriya were sure they were on the right track, which led to the subsequent events. Moriya then took off the ring and returned it to Keisuke. On the other side, Chika found a letter left by Takai. Takai apologized for occupying Marika's precious life. Initially, when she possessed Marika, she was truly afraid of this mother. However, after spending some time together, how could she, as a mother, not understand the hardships of Chika, a single mother? Thus, seeing Chika regain her strength, Takai genuinely admired her and was glad to have met Chika. In the end, as someone who had been through it, she reassured Chika that although she might still feel unsure about her ability to be a good mother, she definitely was a competent one. After reading this, the new Chika held her real daughter Marika and cried uncontrollably. The next day, Keisuke woke up from a dream smelling the scent of cream from the kitchen. Going out to check, he found Takai in the kitchen asking if he wanted rice or bread for breakfast. Keisuke could hardly believe it, thinking he had just had a nightmare about losing his wife. He happily shared the dream with Takai. Unfortunately, it was not a dream. The wife becoming transparent in front of him said it all. Takai had come into Keisuke's dream specifically to say a proper goodbye, wanting to tell him that being his wife made her truly happy. She hoped Keisuke would also live strongly in the future. They should not measure the miracles they encountered by time, because they would meet again someday. Takai made this promise with Keisuke in the dream. When Keisuke truly awoke, his wife was not there. Only a clean kitchen remained. But with that promise, he was likely no longer as weak as before. Mai also moved in with Aikawa. Like her mother, she got up early every day to make breakfast for her husband. Keisuke would occasionally visit. He had now taken up fishing, enjoying the time he could quietly spend looking at the sea. Mai would bring a packed lunch and join Aikawa at the beach, passing through a sunflower field that instantly reminded her of her mother. She decided to tell Aikawa about the miracle that had occurred to her. On Mai and Aikawa's wedding day, Mai walked arm in arm with her father towards Aikawa, and the wedding ceremony officially started. Next to Keisuke's seat was a photograph of Takai, as she would surely have wanted to see her daughter in a wedding dress. Meanwhile, Marika got along well with her friends, with her mother picking her up after school. Keisuke and Moriya still shared packed lunches, but now he could make his own. Everyone's life continued peacefully and happily.